Hi everyone. I know it's been a long time, but thank you for coming back, and for my new subscribers, thank you for joining. Let's just jump into this. First up is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Love this movie. This was such a pleasant surprise because when it came out, I didn't know what to expect, and of course everyone thought it was a direct sequel to Cloverfield, and I love what I got. I love what I got, and the performances were outstanding. John Goodman, pfft, wow, that's all I can say. Side note, I do not know why they sometimes do these half slip covers, these quarter slip covers. It's stupid. But you know, it is what it is. Next up, sorry for the glare, is Apt Pupil. Now, let me make a note. I do have DVDs in my collection. For one, I'm not a Blu-ray snob. I don't need to have everything on Blu-ray, especially if the DVD transfer is really good, which surprisingly, most of them are really nice transfers. But with my collection, I have lots of movies. I've been collecting since I was a kid. I have a lot of movies. I've gone through my collection a lot, getting rid of stuff. And yeah, it takes a while to upgrade movies to Blu-ray, and not all movies have been transferred to Blu-ray yet, you know. So I'm not going to not have a movie that I love in my collection just because it's on DVD. So, you know. But anyway, Apt Pupil, this is excellent. This is excellent. This is a great thriller based on a novella by Stephen King. And this stars Ian McKellen and Brad Renfro. And I just want to say real quick, how can I explain this without giving it away? If you're not familiar with it, Brad Renfro is a teenager, a high schooler, who discovers that a neighbor of his, played by Ian McKellen, is a war criminal hiding here in America. He used to run one of the big death camps during World War II. And he basically blackmails him to tell him all the stories so he could get into his head and learn more about it. So he constantly threatens him with threatening to tell, you know, the U.S. government that he's there, because obviously he's still wanted. So this movie just ramps up the intensity. Oh my goodness. In the ending, I'm not saying anything else. Excellent. That came out in the 90s. Next up is Breakdown. This is a movie that is rarely ever spoken of. I don't hear people ever talk about this. I don't know. When I last looked, this still was only available on DVD, so I don't know if it's on Blu-ray yet. But this is one of Kurt Russell's best movies. Quick synopsis. He and his wife are moving to California. All their stuff has already been sent ahead, so now they're just driving. They're on a road trip driving to California to bring their new SUV. So they're on the road, their SUV breaks down, and a truck driver comes by, offers assistance, and Kurt Russell doesn't want to leave his truck there on the side of the road, so he offers to take Kurt's wife to the closest pit stop so they could call and get a mechanic or get the truck towed. And he said he'd come back to get him. Well, it gets later and later and darker. The truck driver still hasn't returned, but then Kurt Russell finally figures out the problem with the SUV, and he fixes it. So he drives to the pit stop. The problem is, he gets there, there's no truck driver, there's no truck, there's no wife. No one has seen his wife. No one has seen the truck driver or the truck. Where the heck is his wife? So the anxiety, oh my God, and the desperation and the relentlessness of Kurt Russell's character and trying to find his wife is unbelievable. And there's nothing he won't do. He is, oh my goodness, love that movie. Another one, Copycat. Yes, I do know this is on Blu-ray now. Again, I'll get to it. See, for me, my priority with upgrading the DVDs is first doing my sci-fi, action, horror, and fantasy. Stuff that involves like a lot of special effects and colors and things like that. So I tend to do those first, and then it's the dramas and the musicals and all that other stuff. So I'll get around to it eventually. But this is a good one. Good one. Next up, another example, the Da Vinci Code. Love this one. Have not seen the third one in the trilogy. The second one was okay. I didn't like it as much, but the Da Vinci Code, I love this one, and I like it more every time I watch it. Next up is The Deep. Oh my goodness, I love this movie. One of my favorite time periods of movies is the 70s. I mean, I'm one of those movie buffs, movie lovers who love movies from all eras. I mean, even as far back to silent films. And but I love the movies that came out in the 70s. There's just something about the authenticity, the look of the cinematography, the acting style, the script writing style. It's just something different, and I just love it. If you are not familiar with this movie, this stars Robert Shaw, who everybody knows from Jaws, but he's an excellent actor. He's been in so many other great films. Jacqueline Bisset and Nick Nolte. And Jacqueline and Nick are a couple who are on vacation in Bermuda, who go scuba diving, and upon doing so, they discovered this really old sunken ship, and on the ship, they find treasure, and they also find thousands of vials of, it's not opium. Oh gosh, what is it? Hold on. It's not opium. I know it's not important. Morphine, but it is important. So they find thousands of vials of morphine. Here comes the problem. They find the sunken treasure, which they're intrigued by. They're like, oh, it's treasure. And so they find the local treasure hunter and historian, played by Robert Shaw. And so they're on like this discovery to find out where this treasure came from and its value, etc., and the history of it. Meanwhile, a Haitian drug dealer who lives in Bermuda, played by Louis Gossett Jr., finds out that they found all those vials of morphine, and he wants it. So now they are being chased and harassed by him to get the morphine, and they're also on a deadline to try to find out about the sunken treasure. It is so good, and this is based on the best-selling novel by Peter Benchley, who did Jaws. Love it. Next up is Don't Breathe. We all know about that. Thoroughly enjoy that movie. LA Confidential, a phenomenal thriller. Yes, and I'll eventually get it on Blu-ray. But I have to admit, I have a few snap cases that for now I'm enjoying seeing them in my collection. I'm not one of those people who hate them. I know a lot of movie collectors hate the snap cases. But I'm like a very sentimental person. And it's nostalgic for me. Like I have my old Blockbuster membership card on display, and every time I look at it, it just makes me happy and smile because of all the memories I had going to Blockbuster back in the day. And this gives me those memories, so I don't mind it. So next up is A Lonely Place to Die. Oh my gosh, this thriller, man, I never ever hear anybody talk about this movie. Okay, how can I describe this without giving it away? Melissa George, who is the star now. I love Melissa George, actually. A lot of people don't recognize her because they know her as a blonde. But her and included in it with a group of friends go climbing in the Scottish mountains. And let me tell you, the cinematography in this movie is phenomenal. Oh my gosh. It just makes you want to go to the Scottish mountains right now. Just go. But anyway, her and a group of friends, while they're climbing in the Scottish mountains, hear these sounds, these human sounds, and they try to figure out where they're coming from. At first they think they're hearing things, but then they realize they really do hear these human sounds, like a voice. So they locate it, and that's all I can really say without giving it away. All I have to say is once they locate the human voices, they have to make a decision. And the decision they make turns out to be a very dangerous one. And they suddenly find themselves being haunted. Did I say haunted? I meant to say hunted. They find themselves being hunted through the Scottish mountains. And oh my gosh, this movie is so intense. Love it. Next up is Misery. It's Misery. This is one of my all-time favorite Stephen King novels. That was back when, like, I was into Stephen King. I haven't been into him for a long time now. His writing just changed for me, but this is also one of my all-time favorite films and one of my favorite Stephen King films. Kathy Bates was crazy good in that. Next up is Nighthawks. This is a Shout Factory release. This is another movie you don't hear people talk about often. I've always liked this movie, and I was so excited when they finally put this on Blu-ray. And this is definitely one of Sylvester Stallone's best films, hands down. He is so good in this. And rest in peace, Rutger Hauer. And Billy D. Williams co-stars in this, playing Sylvester Stallone's partner. If I remember, they're detectives. They're not cops. They're detectives who are hunting Rutger Hauer down. He is a terrorist, and they're in New York, and he's doing his terrorist business, and they're trying to get to him before he kills any more people. Next up is 1 Hour Photo. Oh my goodness, this movie is so good. Yes, I know it is now on Blu-ray, so that is on my list. And this is definitely one of Robin Williams' best performances. Oh my goodness. He is so good in this and downright creepy. Unbelievable. Just saying. Next up, Orphan. Love this movie. This girl should have been nominated for an award, for an Oscar. Straight up. And I'm not the first person to say that. Next up is Red Eye. When I last looked, this still has not been put on Blu-ray. So if you like it, it's still only available on DVD. And, sorry, my hand's getting shaky. I'm getting tired. Let's switch hands. Very, very good movie. Starring, I don't know if he pronounces it Cillian or Killian, but I'm assuming it's Cillian. Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. Great, great, great movie. It starts off inside an airport at a restaurant. They're both waiting for their flight. They meet, have drinks together. Rachel gets on her flight, finds out he's on the flight with her. Not only just on the flight with her, but sitting right next to her. But then finds out there's more to him than meets the eye. And now her life is in danger along with everyone else on this plane, unless she does what he wants her to do. This is a film by Wes Craven. Not spoken of enough at all. Phenomenal film. Next up, Shadow of the Vampire. Oh my goodness, this movie is so good. I never, ever, 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 ever hear anybody talk about this. Never. I've seen a lot of other people's collection videos. I've never seen it in anybody's collection. I have to give this movie a moment because it deserves it. It stars Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich. First of all, Willem Dafoe, my goodness, this performance just is crazy good. Just crazy good. And if I do recall, the scriptwriter said that he wrote this film solely with Willem Dafoe in mind to play this. Like, he did not want anybody else to play this but him. And I see why. Here's the premise of the story. When is this? It's not the 30s. Wait. When did Nosferatu come out? Let me think. Was that the 30s or the 20s? But John Malkovich is a filmmaker and director, and he is actually making the film Nosferatu. For everybody who loves old films and vampire films, you know Nosferatu. Clearly, Willem Dafoe is playing the vampire. Okay? So, the whole premise of the story, which is downright brilliant, is that he hires him, right? Brings him on set, introduces him to everyone. Everyone thinks he's just this very intense, serious actor, like he's a method actor, right? He never gets out of character, ever, and he's just straight creepy all of the time. Well, what they don't know is the secret that's only between John Malkovich, plays the director, and him, which is the fact is he really is a vampire. See, what makes that so ironic is that for many, many, many years, fans of the film Nosferatu we've always said that that guy just never looked human. Like, it was always this inside joke saying, oh, he must have really been a vampire. There's nothing about that man that looks human. His arms are so long. He's so lanky and skinny. The way he moves, the way he looks, he can't be human, right? That was always the inside joke. And this person played off of that to say, guess what? Wink, wink, you're right. He isn't human. He really is a vampire. So what makes this great is that as the movie progresses, you know, it gets creepier and creepier. The ending is amazing. I will not say what it is. But the whole time, John Malkovich, while he's trying to make his movie, is also very stressed out because he's trying to keep him underhand. Because, you know, vampires are going to do what vampires do. This right here has always ticked me off. Rolling Stone, I don't know what movie you were watching, talking about this shockingly funny. There's nothing funny about this movie. It is not a comedy at all. There are moments that become funny because we know the truth, but everyone else in the movie doesn't. So it's like that inside wink, wink, nod, nod. But this movie is not a comedy. Just saying, people. So do not see this and then go in, this isn't a comedy. They lied to me. Because, yeah, they did lie to you. I don't know why they put that on the front of that. Split. We all know about Split. Wonderful film. Usual Suspects. Yes, I will eventually get that on Blu-ray. This, great film. It's Usual Suspects. Come on, the ending, I don't care how many times you watch it, the ending is still so amazing because, like, every time you watch it, you still go, okay, you're looking around the room, you're putting all the pieces together, and you're like, it's classic. It's classic. Okay, next up we have Not Without My Daughter. I have always loved this film, and this film just got put on Blu-ray. This movie has been out of print for ages. Like, it had the first print, it was never printed again, and I mean, at one point this DVD was being sold for like $70 to $100. I was so glad I had it. Love the story. But now it is available on Blu-ray, and now people who've been wanting can get it, and I'll eventually get it. But if you're not familiar with this story, Sally Field is an American woman who lives in the U.S. with her daughter and her husband. Her husband, you have to forgive me, her husband is either from Iran. I don't think it's Iraq. I think it's Iran. You have to forgive me. It's been a while. But he has a sick relative. He needs to go out there. And she's never been there. She's never been to his country. And he wants her and her daughter and their daughter to go with them. She does not want to go. She's very apprehensive. And it's one of those moments when you see the film, and this is based on a true story. Let me say that first. This is really based on a true story. Not a half truth, but a real truth. Okay? It's one of those moments when you say, you should have listened to yourself. We have instincts for a reason. And she ignored them because it was her husband, the love of her life. They've been married a long time. She goes with him. They get there. The tide turns because once he gets there, and I think he went because of his father, and I think his father dies. And then because he's the oldest, he now is the head of the family. So now he has to stay and run the family. And he's a doctor, right? So he's like, I can be a doctor here. I don't need to go back to the States. And she's like, well, I'm not living here. I'm going back home. All my family, my friends, everything is back home. And basically what happens, she's kept there against her will, her and her daughter, and her whole world changes. And now she's forced into a culture that is totally against an American culture and everything that she knows. And she becomes imprisoned and controlled. And basically the whole time is she's trying to find a way to escape and get back to the U.S. with her daughter. Because they keep telling her, you can go, but you're not taking my daughter. You know, the women in his family, like, you can go. They don't want her there anyway. They like, leave, but you're not taking your daughter. So that's what the fight is about her trying to find a way out with her daughter. Oh my gosh. Sally Field is phenomenal in this movie. Next up, Alexander Revisited, the final cut. Okay, let me say this. I saw the original, the very first release, the theatrical release, and I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. Speaking of which, let me say, for people who have never seen any of my videos, my movie collection consists of only movies that I like a lot or that I love and that I'll rewatch. So I have no fillers. There's nothing in my collection I don't like, okay? So I'm saying that to say, after the theatrical release, they released the Blu-ray of the theatrical release. And then the director, let me say this. Was this Oliver Stone? Yeah, this is by Oliver Stone. So Oliver Stone did a second Blu-ray release, which was called the Director's Cut. And he still wasn't completely happy with it. This is the third and final version of this film called Alexander Revisited, the Final Cut. And let me tell you, this is the one that should have been released in the theaters. My gosh. Let me say, if you liked this movie, after you see this version, you will love this movie. What Oliver Stone did with the editing and the new things that he inserted, it made this film phenomenal. And I highly recommend anyone, if you ever want to see this film, please only see this version, because you will not get the full experience. And yeah, I love this film so much. And it's one of the best soundtracks ever created. I own the soundtrack. Next up is Almost Famous. This is the bootleg cut, the director's edition, which is really cool. And like you have like... And that's why I think I haven't been in a hurry to get the Blu-ray, because I just love this thing. I love it. I love it. So yeah, I love this movie. Again, I love 70s things. I love 70s music, 70s movies, 70s TV shows. I just love that era. And so this movie takes you to that era. 70s rock and roll. Okay, next up is Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I saw this when it initially aired on HBO. This is an HBO production. My mother has the book. She has the first print, and I never could read it. It was very hard. My heritage is Native American, part like 3 parts Native American. So just reading this and knowing the histories and just growing up knowing the histories and everything is one thing. And then this book is very, very hard to read. And then HBO adapted it into a film, which is phenomenal. It's still hard to watch in parts, but HBO, I always trust them to do it right, man. And whew, this is phenomenal. Creed. It's Creed. Come on. Love the film. Pleasant surprise. Creed 2. I enjoyed this as well. Dead Presidents, another movie I don't hear people speak about a lot, and as far as I know, this movie still is not available on Blu-ray, so if you want it, this is the only way you can get it. This is so good. If you're not on it, if you're not up on it, it's about a Vietnam vet who comes back and has problem adjusting to the world, making it in the world, can't get a job, can't work. Too many things just go bad for him. So he and his best friends, who were best friends before the war, went over together and made it and came back. All of them have their own issues. All of them suffer from post-traumatic stress. One's a fire starter. Another one is a drug addict. You know, they all have their problems, but Chris Tucker is in this as well. He plays one of the best friends. And so they plan a heist together, a bank heist, to make that money that they need. And just, things just go really wrong. Another one, Disappearing Acts. This is another great HBO film. I don't know if this is available on Blu-ray or not. You know, like I say, with the dramas, I don't check on them as often. But such a good film with Wesley Snipes and Sinead Lathan. Just an excellent story. Dog Day Afternoon. Oh my gosh, I love this movie. Also based on a true story. It's starring Al Pacino. This is an oldie, so if you're not into old films, this came out in the 70s. It's based on the true story of a guy and his friend, one of his best friends, who go to rob a bank, and it goes horribly wrong. If you've ever heard people go, Attica, 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 it's from this film. So yeah, he goes to rob the bank, and it just goes bad. It just fails. It goes bad. And so he's held up in the bank with the hostages, who they all become buddy at some point. Like, it is just the craziest thing. And then it just turns into a circus with the media and the cops too eager to shoot, which makes a reference to Attica for people who aren't familiar with the Attica riots at the prison, the Attica prison. I'm not going to tell you all about it. Do some research. Look up the Attica riots, or also known as the Attica Rebellion, that took place in the 1970s. So Al Pacino was phenomenal in this. His name never comes to me, but you all know him from the Godfather movies. But he plays his best friend who robs the bank with him. Next up is Doubt. Man, this is a good movie. It's a good movie, and it's one of those movies. I love these kind of movies that have you talking about it when it's over. People still talk about this movie. Meryl Streep, amazing as always. Philip Seymour Hoffman. I did say Seaman right. Okay, that was funny. Philip Seymour Hoffman and Amy Adams. When is this? I think it takes place in it's like the 60s, I think. But they have a Catholic school, so it's a Catholic church that has a Catholic school, and Meryl Streep starts getting these bad vibes, and she sees things that are inappropriate. She has bad feelings, and she believes that one of the students, if not more of them, have been molested by the head priest, which is played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Amy Adams plays one of the nuns under her. She's like, what do they call that? It's not just the head nun, but you know what I mean. Meryl Streep is the head nun. So doubt comes in play when she's investigating and she's having these conversations with him. And they're trying to figure out, is he or isn't he guilty? Did he or didn't he do it? And are you going to risk this man's career if you're wrong? And to this day, the ending, I'm not going to say what, but people still discuss this movie today. Like, what do you believe? Was he innocent or was he guilty? Phenomenal film. Okay, next up is Four Brothers. Love this movie. Love this movie. I wasn't a real big fan of Mark Wahlberg's until this came out, and then his movies after that, I became a fan. This is such a good movie. I'm sure you all are up on this by now. If not, check it out. Next up is Geronimo. I don't know if this is on Blu-ray or not. I actually haven't checked in a long time. But this is amazing. Wes Studi was amazing as Geronimo. As you can see, all the people who co-starred in the film, you have Gene Hackman, you have a very young Matt Damon. He kind of irritated me a little, and I'm not a fan of Matt Damon's until he got older as well. It just kind of irritated me. But yeah, you have so a young Matt Damon, you have Gene Hackman, you have Robert Duvall and Jason Patric, and again, Wes Studi as Geronimo. Amazing. Of course, Godfather. I don't have Godfather 2 or 3. Of course, I love them. Well, I love 1 and 2, but I love the first one more. I'll eventually get Godfather 2, but really, I just love The Godfather a lot. The first one is my favorite. I like origin stories. I usually tend to like the first story in like a trilogy. Next up is The Intouchables, an amazing, wonderful French film, which has since now been remade with Kevin Hart. No, thank you. I'm not going to see it. This is amazing. This is the version I like. This is the version I'll keep. And based on a true story. If you now know, I can't even remember what the new one is called with Kevin Hart. Yeah, based on a true story. This is a totally charming and touching and funny and sad and emotional film. It sends you through all the emotions. I love it. Next up is another favorite film of mine, The Last Samurai. I'm going to be doing a custom cover art for this because I want the samurai on the front. I get it. It's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the top billing. It's Tom Cruise. Heaven forbid we don't have Tom Cruise on the cover of a movie that he's in. But people misunderstand. The Last Samurai is not about Tom Cruise. It's about the actual samurai. Samurai is both singular and plural. So we're talking about the actual samurai who are the last of their kind. So that's who the movie is referring to. So I'm going to be doing a new cover. I never think about it until I take the movie out to watch it. And I'm like, ugh, I want the samurai on the cover. So I will be doing a new one. Next up, I love this film, Love Jones, with Lorenz Tate. Lorenz Tate also stars in Dead Presidents that I just showed you. Big fan of his, from Chicago. But this is really, really a good, fun film with Lorenz Tate and Nia Long. So, and it's filmed in Chicago. Yep. I don't know if this has been released on Blu-ray yet. Again, I haven't checked on my dramas in a while. Man of the Year. Wow. This is another one with the wrong description. They have here hilarious. This movie is not hilarious. Okay, let me rephrase this. Okay, first of all, this is a film very, very, very underrated and not spoken about often when it comes to Robin Williams films. What happens? Robin Williams plays a late night talk show host, right? Who's a comedian. That's where the comedy comes in. When you're seeing his clips when he's working, it's funny, okay? It's funny, and he's funny, as always, as Robin Williams. But this is a drama, okay? But what happens is, it's during the time, it's getting close to presidential election time here in the U.S., and all his fans are like telling him, you need to run for president, run for president, run for president. And they do a poll, and it goes out of the roof. They do a poll to see if he should actually run. And they're going to play with it thinking it's funny, a marketing thing. But what happens, he runs and he wins. He wins and becomes the new president of the United States. Now, who also stars in this film is all of a sudden I went blank. Lord, what is it? Hold on. I have too many thoughts going in my head right now. Laura Linney, because I kept wanting to say Laura Linney, and I'm like, that's not it. Laura Linney is in this, as well as Christopher Walken and Barry Levinson. And so what happens, this movie turns really dark. A dangerous political thing, like an episode from 24. You know, what happens is Laura Linney works for this company that makes voter polls, the digital voting booths, and they have this great new program. It's supposed to be like the best thing ever that's going to be implemented in all the states in the U.S. And hold that thought. Sorry about that. I had to pause. So anyway, Laura Linney's company, they have this great new program, and the new digital voting booths are supposed to be implemented in all of the states in the U.S. Well, after Robin Williams wins, Laura Linney finds that there is a problem with the system, right? And she tells him he didn't really win. There's something wrong with the program. Well, they all want her to shut up for obvious reasons, for money reasons. Plus, it's bad press. And they're like, Wall Street will crash. You know, all these people invested in this. So they're telling her to shut up about it. And her ethics won't allow her to. And then she starts being threatened and hunted down and chased. These people are trying to kill her now to shut her up. And meanwhile, while she's trying to hide out, she's also trying to get to Robin Williams to tell him the truth. She feels like that's the only thing to do for her safety. And she's a patriot. She's like, this will ruin the voting process of this country. The irony of this movie, right? So this is not a comedy. How is this a comedy? Just just because the parts when he's playing the talk show host is funny does not make it a comedy. Again, wrong, people. Check this movie out. Next up is Rocky 4. It's my favorite Rocky movie. I'm sorry. Like the Rocky movie, not including Creed's. Like, I love Rocky 4. I'm just saying. I just love it. And we have Saturday Night Fever. I freaking love this slipcover. I love this slipcover. I love this movie. This is the director's cut. Yeah. I own this soundtrack. I've had it for eons. I love that freaking soundtrack. And the last in this particular video is Veronica Guerin, starring Cate Blanchett. And this is also based on a true story. A true story. Again, not half-truth. Based on... Was she in Ireland? I believe so. She was an Irish journalist who... she was like no joke, relentless. Was all about truth and exposing criminals. And she just picked the wrong criminal not to let up on. He's a major drug dealer and all kind of things. And she royally pisses him off. And yeah, her life is constantly threatened and in danger, but she still doesn't give up. Her family begs her to let the investigation go. Her newspaper begs her to let it go, you know, because her life is constantly in threat. But she was a true journalist, and she felt the public needed to know, and they needed to be exposed and be held accountable for their crimes. And this isn't a spoiler. I mean, well, I guess it'll be a spoiler if you don't know the news story, so I won't say anything. I'll leave that up to you. But she was phenomenal in that. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for checking out. I was gonna do one long video, but that would just take too long for all my movies. And I just wanted to put something up for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and take care of others. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.